Hello. Right, I thought I've got a little space here, and I'm a little break in editing, and as usual, the Guinness Book of Records haven't come back with any comments, which is annoying. Hello. Now, so as a result, I thought this is a video which is purely and simply for the adult members of the household, because I thought I'd tell you the story of Tom's Bar, which I think I threatened to tell you one day over a glass of wine. But I thought, well, you can have a glass of wine and I will tell you this story. Right, get my coffee. Right, so just to give you a little frame of the time, right? So we're talking about 1989. When did the Berlin Wall come down? Berlin Wall. Well, the Berlin Wall had just come down. We'll do it now. I'm in Bristol. I think it actually be about 89, 92, 94. But I can't remember exactly. Anyway, but at the time I was living with this woman called Amanda. And she had this gay friend who was whose name was, quite honestly, was called Daniel Rimmer. And that was his real name. Daniel was a very showy homosexual, and he used to have used to wear. He lived in Bristol, and he had used to wear these little chains made out of plastic babies and things like that. Very odd character. Anyway, he was dreadfully promiscuous, and he was drawn, like a lot of homosexuals were at the time, to Berlin, because Berlin at the time had, when Berlin was divided into the two sectors, the West Berlin side had, you were allowed to live there and you couldn't get called up into national service, and a whole range of other laws applied, which meant that it was very attractive to people that were of a sort of bohemian leaning. So the homosexual community, artists, political activists, anarchists, communists, weird theatre, that kind of lifestyle was a magnet. So it filled with this kind of sort of alternative lifestyle thing, and there were a lot of them there. And Amanda's friend Dan moved there, and immediately became an extremely active member of the gay community, which was huge in Berlin at the time. Anyway, one day he invited us to come and visit him, so we flew over, and I'd always wanted to go to Berlin because of the history of the place, and I was always very interested to see that stuff. So I thought it would be interesting because we will see that. What I wasn't expecting was what actually happened, which was that we went from gay club to gay club to gay club to gay club, then to a gay club, then to a gay restaurant, then to a gay cafe, then we'd have breakfast in a gay breakfast centre, and then it was just non-stop gay. And it was very frustrating because I kind of was like sort of a mile, 2 mile away from some of the world's most interesting museums, like I think it's the Berlin Humboldt Museum. There's some amazing stuff in these places, plus all the history about the fall of Berlin in 1945 and the Reichstag and all this kind of stuff. These incredibly iconic landscapes and buildings and historical sites, and I'd always wanted to see this because I'd read a lot about that. And then on top of that, they got these fantastic art museums, and there's all the German expressionist art, all the woodcuts, and the Bauhaus, and all this kind of stuff. That's what I wanted to see. But no, what I see is a lot of men in short, shiny trousers and cap t-shirts going, "Everybody dance now!" And I had that for about 5 days, and I was starting to get a little bit cranky with this. I'll admit, I was getting a little bit, I was getting a little bit cheesed off with this because I was starting to think that, come on. I mean, what's more interesting, history or somebody's lifestyle? So I kind of started to moan a little bit, I suppose, and the immediate reaction was that I was being homophobic, which I wasn't at all. It's a difficult thing to get the lighting right on this. Bleaching out. What happens if I turn that off? Is that better? Oh, it's the monitor. Bear with me. Yeah, is that better? Yeah, it was a bit better. Anyway, so I was keen, being the only straight male in this group of about 10 of us, that I'm from a fine art background in art school and all of this kind of stuff. So I'm, and I've been in theatre stuff and things like that. I mean, it's old news for me, and I don't, it wouldn't have occurred. Never occurs to me to be homophobic. So, but I don't think that they were keen to hear that that's what I thought. So that I was getting jibes and all this kind of stuff, and I was trying to make it clear that I wasn't affected about it. This obviously became a bit of a joke for them after a while, because they were putting me in sort of increasing. We were going into increasingly, so the levels of gay was being kind of testing, so we went to one night. They said, we're going to go to Tom's bar, and there was a bit of smirking and giggling, and I was sort of saying, "Oh, yeah, I can." Yeah, nothing. My liberal credentials are so fantastically good that I'm unshockable. And also the idea that people were trying to shock me was also a little bit irritating. So I was keen to not give in to this. So we started the evening at a place called Cafe Enal. Yes, that spelling. And in Cafe Enal, interesting wall decorations, because on the walls there were lots and lots of bum prints. You see, various gentlemen had put paint on their bottoms and then sat on pieces of paper, and then they were pasted up and down the wall. You see, anyway, so we went there, and I was talking to him. He was talking to a Greek gay guy that had been in the army and had run away from the army. No, sorry, he didn't want to be in the army because he thought that they would all be horrible to him because he was a homosexual, but then discovered that almost all of his platoon were homosexual. and the general was homosexual, and I think the entire Greek army must be homosexual, actually, which is a rather interesting idea. Anyway, there were Bulgarians and Americans and Frenchmen and Swiss and Swedes, who'd all been attracted to Berlin with this crowd of people that we were with, and of course Daniel Rimmer and my then girlfriend. So we were sitting in Cafe Enal and having a sort of coffee and beer and cake, which is a very German thing in their bars. Berlin was crawling with bars. It's just anyone could open them. There's very little legislation, so there were loads of these bars, and the wall had just come down, so they'd spread into the east of Berlin, because the property there was dirt cheap. You could open one, and I think the only legislation that they had was that a bar would have to close for half an hour a day for cleaning. But apart from that, anyone could set one up. So it's not like the UK, where there are very strong licensing laws, or even stronger ones in say Sweden or Finland, which is almost draconian. Which is why you see the worst alcoholics in the world on Swedish car ferries. where it's duty free. So, so anyway, there we are, sitting in this place, and one of them says to me, "Are you ready to go next door to Tom's bar?" And I said, "Yeah." So what? Yeah, I can handle anything. Yeah. Well, so went next door, and initially it looks like a pretty normal kind of a bar. Some guys at the front, moustaches, pretty sort of, everyone looks like Magnum PI. So that just looked like the other places, you see. So there's nothing particularly unusual about that. And there's a video on the wall, and it's got cartoons on it, and Daffy Duck and things like that. So then you go through a kind of not a door, but like a saloon, like a sort of a saloon, I seem to remember. And then you go into a next room, and the atmosphere's a little bit heavier. And then on the TV, there's a gay porn video, which I won't get into the details too much of, except it's a little bit rough. And then there's another set of swing doors. See? Now I'm with Dan, which is just me and Daniel Rimmer, and so we go through that door, and the next one, and there's another room. And in this room, there's another video, and it's not Daffy Duck, and it's not the other video. It's a gay rape scene in a changing room. 3 guys onto 1 guy. It's really violent, really quite whoa. And these guys sit around. Some very smallish guys, thinny little guys, and then some sort of older, sort of rougher guys. Anyway, then we passed through that area, and then there's the start of a staircase going down into a basement. And then above the basement it says, beware of pickpockets and guard your valuables, you enter your own risk, in about 8 languages. And it was totally dark. And Tom and Dan, oh dear. And then Dan said to me, he said, well, if you're so brave, you won't mind coming down here. So this is a difficult moment, because I'm really being tested at this moment. And I think, shall I, and I thought, yeah, well, life is all about, experiences. And especially, I suppose, if you're an artist or a writer or a painter or a playwright or somebody that is interested in the world at large, but whether it's the world you like or the world you don't like, or what you're comfortable with or you're not comfortable with, you should be able to do that, because you're not much of a writer or an artist if you only are interested in things you're interested in, or you I mean, what kind of a book would that be? It would make for a very weird thriller, for instance, wouldn't it? If it was a non-murder set in a pleasant holiday. I mean, that it'd be like Indiana Jones and the pleasant chalet in the Swiss Alps. I mean, it just doesn't work, does it? So I thought, right, okay, well, I'm gonna do this, because it's all about risk and not physical risk. Anyway, I didn't think so. So top of the stairs, I go down the stairs. You see, now I'm going from it's light, and that's the answer. The light's really weird. Anyway, so I go down these stairs, and I'm teasing you here by slowing down. You notice, right? So I go down these stairs, and I'm going from light to dark. And as you go in, I couldn't see anything, so my eyes hadn't adjusted. So as I go down, you can imagine it's very humid, very hot. Even though this is like December, it's the New Year, just after New Year, and we go down these steps, and there's this humidity and a closeness, right? And it's not obvious how big the basement is, but reasonable size guess. I suppose it'd be about the size of the sort of downstairs bit for Make It Do farm, as far as I can tell. So imagine that sort of area, but it's pitch dark initially. I go down there, and then the first thing I get is this the very distinctive smell. Right, it's a very distinctive smell, and yeah, the second thing I noticed is that my feet are clicking as I walk because they're sticking to the floor. Okay, they're sticking to the floor. The next thing I notice is that there are men very, very close to me, and quite a lot of men. We're not talking one or two men, we're talking 15 to 20, hard to say. It's very obvious that they're there, but I can't see them. I know them, I can hear them saying things to each other, but it's a little bit like, oh yeah, oh my God, oh, that's so good. Give it to me, boy. And there's a lot of this going on, and this is all going on like within feet of me. And Dan is by the side of me, and Dan is laughing because he obviously, to him, because he's well into this stuff, was totally unaffected by this, and went there, did this stuff, and he said to me, the thing, he leant close to me and he said, what they do is, he said, if they like the look of you as you come down the stairs, then they're allowed to just start on you. And then just to round that off, he said, the other day, some guy down here tried to cut someone's testicles off with a knife. Well, that was the point for me, really. I think that my lower half decided that the top half's sensibilities were probably best ignored, and it was like my legs sort of carried me out. So if you can imagine that if you can imagine this, I'm sort of in the dark of this, and my legs just go, and he just made the decision for me. So I'm going across the floor like this, in the dark, heading towards the light. But by this time, I'm starting to see what's going on around me, and it's just like all these blokes, some standing, some kneeling, and I'm going across the stairs, across the floor, up the stairs, and then through the first door, through the second door, past Daffy Duck, out, and then I went back into the place next door, and there's all these guys that we're with, and they were laughing their head off because they said none of us would dream of going in there. Oh, the bastards. So they had a great laugh at my expense because I'd done the sort of thing they simply wouldn't go anywhere near. And that they thought it was all fine after that. Anyway, the next day, as a special treat, I was allowed to go to a museum. Oh dear.